Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Friday morning. It's finally Friday. I was very excited for
Yay!
this weekend. But here we are on our roundup show. So we do a lot of shows in Spanish and a lot of content in Spanish, but we wanted to also do some stuff in English. So this is going to be an English video. Today we're going to be talking about citizenship. So that's very important here in the US. And with us, we have Abogada Krystal.
Hi,
How are you
everyone.
doing?
I'm good. This is my first week back from a long beach vacation, so I've just been kind of getting my feet underneath me again and my head back in the game, but it's been great.
How
I'm
was your
glad it's
trip?
Friday. It was really, really good. We got to see family and splash around in the water, and it was great. It was a nice break.
That's awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear that. I'm really excited for this weekend because I don't have any plans. So it's just gonna be
That's
relaxing
nice.
and like
Yeah.
just a very relaxing weekend, hopefully. I'm like lots of self-care. I'm like ready to put on my face mask and like drink just some wine, good stuff, Friday or Saturday night. So
That sounds
but
pretty nice.
yeah, for sure. It's very relaxing. I haven't had a relaxing weekend in a while, so and that's what kind of recharges me. So I definitely need that for sure.
Well, you just bought a house. I feel like there's no relaxing weekends when you just buy a house. There's like always
That's
something you have to do.
yeah, that's been why basically. Like it's either doing things around the house or having people over, and I'm like I'm closing the house this weekend. Nobody's allowed to come over. Like it's just gonna be me and my dogs and just relaxing all weekend. But great, so let's get started with today's topic, Krystal. So we're just going to be talking about citizenship, a little bit about how to obtain it, like what the requirements are. But before we do, I do want to get started on some like statistics because that's pretty interesting to hear. So according to the statistics, naturalization rates are low right now. It is estimated that there are more than 7 million people in the United States that may qualify for obtaining citizenship, but on average, USCIS only gets 700,000 applications per year. That's like not even close to like what, 10, maybe 10% of the people that could apply. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about citizenship and the importance of it. But Krystal, what does it mean to become a US citizen?
Well, it means that you're done with the immigration process, which is a big deal. I mean, to be done having to renew your green card every 10 years, to be able to vote in the US, to have all the rights and privileges that come along with being a US citizen. It's a biggie. This is a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I that's like the biggest thing that what everybody hopes to get to one day, probably whenever they start or they think about immigration and what the process looks like. Is there an exam or what does the process look like once you apply?
Yeah, there is. So you have to take both a citizenship, well, depending on your age, how many years you've had in the US as a permanent resident. There's likely to be at least an English test and like a civics test, testing your knowledge of US history and how the government is set up and things like that.
Okay, perfect. And then the English test, something that a lot of our clients are afraid of because they come into the country speaking other languages and they don't necessarily learn English. That's not one of their priorities. Is there any exemptions to this, or is it always an English test on all of them?
There are exemptions. If you've been in the US for more than 15 or 20 years as a permanent resident and you're over a certain age, it's entirely possible that you'll qualify for one of these exemptions. Um, and I always forget which one is which. So I think it's if you're over 50 and you've had residency for 25 years, then you qualify for an English exemption. Um, and then I think it's if you're over 65 and you've had residency for 15 years, you can also qualify for it.
Yeah, that's a very long time to have residence. But for sure, that's good to know so that our clients, those who are worried about like maybe they don't fully like speak English, that's good to know. Is what's
I
kind
think
of
I
like
said 25, and I think I meant 20. Sorry. So it's
okay.
50 years old, 20 years of residency, or 55, 15 years of residency. Sorry. There it
Okay,
is.
perfect, perfect. And how what's the level of English that you have to know like to be able to pass this test?
You don't have to like write a thesis in English literature or anything. It's mostly conversational. You have to be able to write a sentence. So remembering to capitalize the first letter of the sentence and putting punctuation at the end and getting most of the spelling right. The sentence they usually pull from the civics exam. So when you're looking at the civics questions and studying them, you've probably read the sentence they're going to ask you to write down. And then the other part of it is just sort of speaking with you. So they'll ask you to read it out loud, read a sentence out loud, write a sentence. And then when they're talking to you and asking you the questions from the exam, they're getting a feel for how well you know English. So, where were you born? What's your birth date? When did you enter the US? And so we counsel a lot of our clients to repeat back the question that they're being asked in English when they answer it, just to show the person who's asking them that they do have a firm grasp of English. So they would say, I was born in Guanajuato, Mexico, and instead of just saying Guanajuato. So things like that. There's some tricks we can help with with trying to show the officer that you don't really need an extension English exam.
That's
And
very
it's
interesting. I didn't know that was one like the question that they have you write or like the prompt that they have you write is something you most likely have read. Like that's very
usually
interesting
so.
to know. Cool. And then how about the civics test? What kinds of questions are involved here? Like what do you need to meet a certain score to be able to pass this?
Yeah, so there are 100 possible questions in the civics test, and they give you those questions ahead of time. So you've got all kinds of time to study and memorize them. And then they're going to ask you 10 questions. As soon as you get 6 of those 10 right, then they're done. You've passed. So if you get the first 6 right, then you're done. And the kinds of questions, sorry, it's going to be kind of like elementary, like social studies types questions. So when was the Declaration of Independence signed? Who's the president of the United States? Who's the vice president? Or who is Kamala Harris? And you'll have to answer she's the vice president. Um, it's not the kind of test that everyday Americans can likely pass, and so it does require some studying, but it can be done. And they have like MP3 files you can listen in your car while you drive around to some of these questions. They try to make it easy for you to study.
Okay, and where can you get those resources? Because I know you mentioned that the questions are given to you ahead of time. Like, is that something that your attorney provides you, or can you get it somewhere?
We certainly do. We provide the links to our clients when they hire for naturalization, but the resources are also freely available to anybody on the USCIS website. So you can go to, you're going to search for naturalization on the USCIS website, and it'll have resources both on the civics exam, and you can see a sample interview, like what it looks like to get your civics questions and your English questions done.
Okay, awesome. That's very good to know that it's out there. And then I guess just something else to mention is like people shouldn't have to pay for these. I know some people like to charge and take advantage of the undocumented or the immigrant population,
Right.
but you shouldn't have to pay for these resources that are out there for free that you can download from the USCIS website. It's always a good thing to mention because people don't
Yes,
know about that.
absolutely right. Don't let anybody charge you for these free resources.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so then something about the requirements. When can somebody apply to become a US citizen?
Generally speaking, if someone's been a resident for 5 years, they can apply for citizenship once they've held. They're getting within 90 days of their 5 year anniversary of holding their green card. Now, for people who are married to US citizens and got their green card through that US citizen and are still married and living with that person, you can do it in 3 years. So it's a little faster.
Okay, perfect. And then if they got divorced, like let's say something happened and they got divorced, can they still do it in 3 years, or do they have to wait the 5 years?
They have to wait the 5 years, unfortunately. You have to show that you're still living with the person.
Perfect, perfect. And the common question that we get is about removals of conditions. So sometimes these cases, we've seen them take up to like 2 years. Do you have to wait to remove your conditions on your green card in order to apply for citizenship, or can you apply?
So yes, when people have a conditional permanent resident card and it's only valid for 2 years, you can't just jump to citizenship. You have to apply to remove the conditions in the 2 years from when it's expiring. So you'll apply for the I-751 within the 2 years to make sure that you stay in status. But your 3 years or your 5 years start counting from the date that you got your card. So it doesn't matter if they've approved or processed your I-751, if they've removed the conditions yet. If you hit that anniversary date, either 3 or 5 years that you're waiting at for citizenship, you can go ahead and apply for citizenship. We've had a lot of clients who receive their citizenship before they ever get their 10-year green card because some of those removal of conditions applications are just taking so long to adjudicate.
Yeah, for sure. I think we saw like a delay up to 2 years sometimes. So like some people were even getting their citizenship before they even got that, and they just closed out the case because they didn't
Right,
need it anymore. Yeah, cool.
exactly.
So I want to give a few shout outs before we keep going with more information, but just everybody, just a reminder to like and give us a thumbs up on this video. Well, that's the same thing. So you can like and give us some heart reactions or some good reactions out there. I know there's also a laughing emoji out there. But yeah, so before we keep going, I do want to give a shout out to Yunuen Alvarado, Maria Fernanda, Felix Real, Ana Sofia Quesada, Caroline Arenas that have joined us in this video and also have posted some of these comments. So we have Yunuen joining us from Facebook, says hello. And then Jessica Infante says hola and sends us little hearts. I think a lot of people are like used to us being in Spanish, and so am I. Like I normally I forget, like we'll get a question in Spanish and then I'll switch. My mind automatically switches to Spanish, and Kate has to remind me, like, oh, we're English video. So
Perfect.
thank you for joining us, Jessica. And then same with Saul, sends us a comment, says hola. And then Ana Sofia Quesada puts amazing information. Totally agree with you. It's really good information for people to have. And then also Eduardo sends us hello right here in the comments. And then everybody, just a reminder, our phone number is 855-502-0555. So if you have any questions or you want to talk more privately about your specific situation, we can't do that live with everybody, but we can definitely do it in a consult. It takes about 10 minutes for us to know whether we can help you or if you have any relief available. So take advantage of this free call, free assessment, whether we can help you with a citizenship case or other cases. We do, Krystal, do you want to do like a brief rundown of all the cases we do?
We do a lot of cases. We don't take employment cases at the moment, but we've got all your family immigration. If you're married to a US citizen or a legal permanent resident and you need to file through that, if your child has turned 21 and they're a US citizen, you want to explore that possibility. We do DACA and parole in place for family of military members, U visa, asylum, removal defense, T visas, you name it, other than the employment world, and we probably can help.
Awesome, awesome. Also, advanced parole for DACA holders. That's a
And
big one.
advanced parole.
I want
Yeah.
everybody who can travel to travel. So I'm like, let's do it. If you can do it, then let's do it. So definitely call us for that as well. Okay, so then coming back to kind of like the citizenship conversation, what I know you mentioned some benefits at the beginning, but can you recap the benefits that somebody gets once they're a US citizen?
Yeah. So once you're a US citizen, you qualify for a lot of programs that you don't when you're not a US citizen. Federal programs, especially relief, financial aid type of relief if you need government assistance, things that aren't available to you if you're a resident. You also are able to vote, and that's kind of the biggie, the fact that you can have a direct say in who represents you and the laws that are going to be impacting you and your family. Um, Aside from that, you never have to pay another dime to USCIS. You don't have to pay filing fees every 10 years to renew your green card. Um, and then along with that, you have bigger protections through the U.S. Constitution than folks that are just here on a green card. There are things that different amendments that apply to you that don't apply to people who aren't citizens. And
Definitely.
they can't take it away from you is the other thing. You have a green card and you make a mistake and you get caught with drugs. That's it. It gets you can be put in deportation proceedings and be deported. With the citizenship, you're here. This is your country. And they can't really take it away from you without a really hard fight.
That's a really big one. Not that our people are out there, committing crimes or anything like that, but it's really big to just have that relief that they can't take away that citizenship from you. How about later, like during retirement? Because I know there's a residence restriction for permanent residents, like they have to live in the country for so long. How about once they become citizens, for example, like if I was to apply, I want to retire in another country. I don't want to retire in the U.S. If I was to have a citizenship, like, is that possible?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, I should have mentioned the travel is a big one. And once you're a citizen, you can come and go as you please. You don't have to worry about being out of the country for too long and having presumed that you've abandoned your residency. You don't have to worry about going back to your home country and taking care of your family if somebody needs you and you need to stay for a year or two. You can just come back on your US passport and it's less of a concern. You can retire in a different country and come back as you want. And, it's a lot more certain and set and safe.
Awesome, awesome. Those are great benefits if you ask me. I mean, just being able to boat and traveling anywhere, that's great. Okay, a lot of our clients are normally concerned about having dual citizenship, like they're citizens of Mexico or like many other countries that they come from. Um, do they have to renounce their foreign nationality to be able to become a US citizen?
As far as the US is concerned, no, but they should probably check in with their home country to make sure that that country doesn't have restrictions on dual citizenship. Or Mexico, we have a lot of clients from Mexico, and that's okay. You can have dual citizenship in Mexico and in the US, and both countries recognize it. But there are other countries that might have other restrictions.
Awesome, awesome. And then, is there any restrictions in terms of like criminal records like any criminal history, where you may not be able to apply for citizenship?
Yes. So anything that might have made you ineligible for your residency, we're gonna deem it too risky to have you apply for citizenship. Like I mentioned earlier, if it's a drug charge, for instance, and nobody's actually put you into proceedings, but you do have this possession of cocaine charge or something like that, any conviction or plea under the Controlled Substance Act, other than marijuana under a certain number of grams, is a deportable offense. And so that, for instance, we wouldn't want to put you into the naturalization proceedings because then we're raising a flag saying, hey, this person's here. And I guess you guys didn't take away their green card, but now they want to be a citizen. And so we could see that be denied and put them into proceedings. So there are certain crimes where we wouldn't want to put you through the naturalization process, maybe ever. And then there are certain crimes that there's a look back period of 3 or 5 years, depending on if you're married to a US citizen or not, where you have to have maintained good moral character. So almost any arrest in that time period would count against your good moral character. And we would probably tell you that we need to wait 3 to 5 years, whichever one you're going for, after that arrest, so that it's not within the statutory look back period.
Okay, awesome. And when you recommend somebody to not apply for citizenship, is it safe to renew their green card? Like, let's say they're coming up on their expiration. Um, does it depend?
It's going to probably depend. I mean, I think the thing is legally, they have to give you, until somebody puts you into proceedings and takes away your green card, they have to renew your green card. But you are kind of subjecting yourself to review every time you apply to renew. So if you have no other form of identification, like let's say you've lost your wallet and you have nothing, you might think that it's worth the risk to see if they'll just renew your green card so that you have a form of identification. You can get a driver's license, you can go to work and things like that. It might be worth the risk to you to see if maybe they don't catch the crime and they don't put you into proceedings. And then other folks might think that maybe it's not worth the risk and they'd like to just hang tight. So it's probably going to depend on your own circumstances and what the crime was, and you probably need a qualified immigration attorney to help you walk through that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for all that information. We do have a few questions from our viewers here, so I'm just gonna run through them a little bit quickly. I think it's more logistical stuff that we haven't answered yet. But for example, here we have a question. So I'm moving to a different city, and I already started the process to get citizenship. Do I have to report this move to USCIS?
Anytime until you have citizenship, anytime you move, even if it's within the same city and it's a different apartment number, you have to report your move to USCIS. It's one of the conditions of your green card is that you keep them up to date on where you're living currently. So yes, you'll have to report the move. You'll probably also need to ask, unless you're planning on traveling back for the interview, that they schedule the interview closer to where you live now. If the interview does get scheduled in your old city and you don't really want to travel back for it, you can call USCIS and have them move, or ask your attorney to help you through the process, have them move it to closer to where you're currently living.
Okay, perfect. And it's really important to let USCIS know anytime you move, especially if you have a process pending, because that means that you'll be receiving the notices from them as well. So
Right.
that's the very important thing. And you can actually do it online. It's pretty easy. Just Google change of address USCIS, and it's going to take you to a form that you fill out online. You enter your receipt number, your old address, your new address, and then it just confirms. So you get an email like saying like, we received your request, and then once they actually change it, they'll send you another email saying that they have completed your request. So it's pretty easy to do it online, but of course, we always help our clients, so definitely reach out to us if you need any help with it, or your attorney if you're working with one. So the next question that I have here, once I obtain my citizenship, do I have to do any other immigration process?
That's it. You're done. You're a citizen. You can just like close the door on that forever. You're done.
And you don't have to let USCIS know that you moved anymore.
No, it's not their business. Yeah, you're a citizen. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
You might have to deal with border agents just like any citizen does when we're leaving the country and coming back in, or when you're traveling within the 100-mile border zone and have to pass through internal checkpoints. But you don't have to make any kind of application. You're done.
I'm sure it feels different to show like a US passport than like any other document when you're going through those checkpoints.
I'm
For
sure that's right.
sure.
I mean, unless you're done, unless like you're sponsoring another family member for their immigration process, and then you're still involved, but as a petitioner or something.
Awesome.
It's a
And
little bit
that's the
different.
next question, actually. So once I obtain my citizenship, which family members can I petition?
So US citizens can petition for their siblings. It's a very long process, but they can petition for their siblings, their parents, um, their children, any child, but at least the ones under 21, there's a visa immediately available to them, and their spouses. So you've got immediate relatives, essentially, children, parents, brothers and sisters. Um, that's about it, and fiancés.
Awesome, awesome. So you can get started on that process if you want to help them out for sure. Cool. So before we wrap up, so we do have a few more shout outs. So I just want to say hi to Maria Zavala, Ana Contreras Moreno, Daniel Aguirre. Thank you so much for joining us. And then we have a comment from Daniel Salutirijillos, I think is the right way to say it. So thank you, Daniel, for joining us. And then there's a question from Eduardo Mendoza. It's in Spanish, so I'm just going to read it real quick. Hola, ¿es bueno haber recibido prima facie por VAWA al mes y medio o es normal? Krystal, ¿qué le dirías a Eduardo acerca
That's
de
pretty fast. Es muy rápido obtener un prima facie determination antes de como, yo creo que más o menos se tardan 3 meses, 4 meses, 5 meses. Un mes y medio es muy rápido.
Perfecto. ¿Y qué es lo que normalmente sigue después de que reciben esa notificación?
Hay unos beneficios, pero yo no hago los casos de VAWA y no quiero dar información que es mal. Yo creo que sí te da oportunidad en muchos estados, y Texas te da más mal tiempo que otros estados, pero puedes conseguir un licencia de manejar en unos estados con ese prima facie evidence.
Perfecto. Y Eduardo, de hecho, nos acompaña mucho en nuestros shows, entonces saludos, Eduardo, muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Y si no está trabajando con algún abogado, Eduardo, y tiene preguntas más específicas, les recuerdo que nos puede llamar a nuestro número de teléfono, el 855-502-0555. Aquí está en la pantallita también para que nos llame si tiene alguna pregunta más acerca de su proceso. Y muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Krystal, going back now to English and citizenship, any last thoughts that you have about citizenship or why people should apply for it?
I think that being done with your immigration process and having the ability to travel where you want and petition people, and it opens the door to in a lot of cases the process is faster when you're petitioning a family member when you're a citizen versus when you're a resident. All those are really great, and being able to vote is huge. uh, Things to keep in mind, red flags that we see when folks are consulting with us about citizenship, besides the criminal issues that we've already talked about, are things like taxes that can trip some folks up. If you owe taxes and you're not on a plan to repay them, we won't be able to apply for citizenship yet. If you owe child support and you're not on a repayment plan, we won't be able to do naturalization yet too in those instances. So those are the big red flags. Get those ducks in a row, those things squared away, and then come talk to us about it. It's worth it just to get it over. The process is pretty quick, and they're also really beautiful. These ceremonies, the naturalization ceremonies, are really beautiful to watch. So
I feel like it's one of the only things that USCIS celebrates because they even
yeah,
have like a ceremony where they invite you and like they do the whole like oath and everything, and it's like a big thing for them.
right.
So.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Krystal, for joining us and sharing all of this information with us. I hope everybody is liking our video and sharing it as well so that your family members and your loved ones have access to this information. Just a reminder, we do have all our social medias. You can find us on any platform, and we have our videos that we've done over the years. Lots of content. So feel free to subscribe and like our channels so that way you can stay up to date with immigration updates. Krystal, a random one that everybody asks all the time and everybody wants to know, is there any DACA update right now?
No, not worth mentioning. The administration's put out kind of the final rule on DACA, where they're trying to put into code, into statute, the Obama's original DACA announcement. But we don't know anything on the court case, which is, I think, what everybody is really waiting on, is to figure out what happens at the Fifth Circuit.
Okay. But so right now, still only renewal applications, just to like make sure.
Yes, right now they're only processing renewal, or they're only approving renewal applications. They'll still accept your initial application, but they can't do anything with it once they accept it until this stay is lifted.
We hope that it's going to change pretty soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But great. Well, thank you so much, Krystal, for joining us, and everybody else who joined us and your comments. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.